Hi friends, so in the last video we have discussed about population growth models, isn't it? So what was the term what we discussed? We discussed about what? Population growth models. There are two types of population growth models graph. One is the exponential growth model and another one is what? The logistic growth. The exponential growth, when does it take place? When the resources are unlimited, okay? So the population goes on increasing with time, so you get a curve called as what? The J-shaped curve. And for logistic, what we see, we saw that when the resources limited, restricted, okay, less amount. So in that case, what will happen is that in the beginning it will take time to increase the population. Gradually you can find what they are going on increasing, okay? So maximum growth will be taking place. They will go high, but restricted, isn't it? Less. So unavailability will be there, or resources limited. So there comes a term, what is that? Carrying capacity. Thereafter you cannot find that population can increase. Why? Because there is no space to accommodate them, no food to provide to them, okay? Only this much is available. Those who can avail survive, those who cannot avail die. So there you come a stationary phase, okay? So that is taking place where? In the logistic growth curve. And we saw about the exponential growth curve. What are the formulas, isn't it? So what is the formula? dN by dt equal to Rn, okay? So that was the formula, dN by dt equal to Rn. In that, what is n, what is t, what is r, and all we saw. And logical means logarithmically also we can represent it with the help of an equation. Nt is equal to n0 e to the power of rt, okay? So where all these things we discussed. Now moving on to the next is your logistic growth. So in the logistic growth, we saw the equation is what? dN by dt equal to Rn in the bracket k minus n by r. So what is this k standing for? It is standing for what? Carrying capacity, okay? So you need to know the equation for the same, okay, the formula for the same, as well as you need to know the terms or the letters which is signifying what, okay? So that's what you have to learn. Next topic we are going to discuss about population interactions. Before that, there is a short introduction regarding life history variation, okay? It's not that important, but you need to know, okay? So what is life history variation? Life history variation, how the life is varying from the previous term, how the life has changed, how the organisms are changing themselves, okay? So there was a scientist, you all know, Charles Darwin. He has put forth survival of the fittest, isn't it? Survival of the fittest. So what is survival of the fittest? Survival of the fittest refers to the one who is fit will survive, the one who is weak will die, okay? So it's common only in a competition. Who is fit will survive, will win, and one who is not fit, he will lose, isn't it? The same in the environmental ecology term also, the same thing only. A species can survive in case if they adapt to the changes in the environment and they can reproduce, okay? The main thing what he meant is that reproductive fitness means if the species is reproductively highly viable, okay, in that case that species will survive. The one who is not that much having the capability to reproduce, cannot adapt to the changes, having some ailments, in that case that species will not be moving on with the next generation. Gradually the number will come down and one point of time they will become endangered and thereafter it will become extinct. Only one who is reproductively fit will be surviving and carrying forward, okay? And the rate of breeding also, when you see it, varies from what? Species to species. As you know, some organisms are there, like for example bamboo plant, okay, Pacific salmon fish, okay? So these are organisms that will breed only once in their lifetime. They are going to breed only once in their lifetime. Thereafter they are not going for breeding, okay? And some breeds are there like mammals, okay, birds, aves and all. They breed many times during their life cycle. As well as you can find some organisms which are producing many number of what? Small animals. So they will produce a large number of small spite offspring. And there are also many different organisms that produce small number of big sized organisms, okay? So one is that small number of big size, means size is big, so obviously the number of babies will be less, okay, offsprings will be less. And when you are seeing if the size is small, the number of offsprings will be more, okay. So there are variations in this breeding practices as well as the offspring. It differs from species to species, variations is noted, okay. And what does this ecologist believe is that life history traits of organism has evolved in relation to the constraint, which means that the one who is changing to the abiotic as well as biotic components, that is changing in the environment, okay. Like for example, the animals which were previously present are not present now. The condition of the temperature, humidity, rainfall is not like the same before. The one who can adapt to the changes that are taking place in the environment, to the constraints. Constraints means what? There are some problems and all, isn't it? So you have to adapt to the changing temperature, changing what is that, pressure, everything you have to adapt. The one who can adapt to the things by taking up some traits, okay. Some traits means what? Like for example, a mosquito can survive in case if it is becoming mutant, it is getting mutated to the all out or the repellent what we are using. So environment is providing the repellent, means I am introducing that chemical into the environment. So the only those mosquitoes who can mutate their trait and can adapt to that chemical will survive. Others, what will happen? They will die, okay. So what is ecologist saying is that a species can only survive if some constraint, some hindrance is given. They can adapt to the hindrance by changing their traits, okay, by adapting to the trait in a good manner. In that case only they will survive, otherwise they cannot survive, okay. Yes, now moving on to the main topic for today. The topic for today is what? Population interaction, okay. So how the population is interacting within one another, how the populations are they are acting with one another, that's what we are going to see. So here we are using some symbols, you can find one is plus and another one is minus and another one is 0, okay. So what is this plus, minus and 0? Plus refers to the interaction in which the organisms are either benefited, okay, means they are good, positive effect, they are having what? A positive effect, benefited, okay. And what do you mean by minus? Minus is referring that the organism is either harmed or it is having a negative effect, or we call it as detrimental effect. What is the effect? Detrimental, which is indicated by what? It is indicated by minus, okay. So organism, in this case predation, one organism is benefited, okay, having positive effect. Like for example, dog and cat is fighting with each other, dog is benefited plus and the cat is being harmed, okay. So in that case that is minus, clear. And what is 0 now? 0 refers to that null effect. Null effect means neutral or no effect, means neutral interaction means they are either benefited nor harmed, okay. They are not having any benefits or they are not having any harm, okay. So there are 6 interaction types we are going to discuss. In this, for today's class, we are just going to discuss 2, okay. So first one what we are going to discuss is commensalism. What is the first one? Commensalism, okay. So just remember this table, you have to go through. Mutualism, both the species which are in interaction are benefited. In predation, one is benefited, one is harmed. In parasitism also, one is benefited, one is harmed. How they are different, we will discuss. Commensalism, one is benefited, another is not benefited, not harmed, okay. Competition, one is, both the cases, both are having some detrimental effect, both are having some negative effect, that is competition. Another one is commensalism. In this, one is harmed and other one is neither benefited nor harmed, okay. One by one we will discuss. First moving on with commensalism. So the interaction where one species is benefited and the other is neither benefited nor harmed, okay. So one is plus and another one is 0, which means one is benefited, other is not benefited nor harmed, okay. Like for example, you can see commensalism we are going to discuss. First is an orchid growing on as an epiphyte. So imagine this is a tree, okay. In this tree, one orchid is a type of a plant which is growing as an epiphyte. What is an epiphyte? Epiphyte is a plant which is growing on another plant. Okay, so there they are growing on a mango tree branch, they are growing. What they are doing is that they are not taking all their nutrients just for sustaining, they are taking a very little bit of nutrient, okay, from the plant, as well as they are getting a substratum to stay on, they are getting a space to live. Okay, so in that way the orchid, when you are seeing, is benefited. It is getting the space, it is getting some food from where? It is getting from the mango branch. Okay, but whether the mango is benefited, the tree is benefited, no, it is neither benefited nor harmed. It is not like a parasite taking away all the nutrients. Okay, very less only, which is not at all going to affect the mango tree. So in that case the mango is neither benefited nor harmed. Okay, so orchid is one good example for what? Commensalism. Another one is your barnacles growing on the back of a whale. Okay, so you can see this barnacles going on the back of a whale, how it looks like. You can find this one, this is the barnacles. Okay, this whale, this brown things you can find, right, like this brown, these things. Okay, so this is what, this is the barnacles. Okay, so this barnacles which are growing on the back of the whale, what is, how they are benefited is that they cannot move easily from one location to another, so they attach to the back of the whale and they get locomoted. They move from to different location for food as well as for shelter. On staying on their whale's back, they move from one place to another. Okay, so for locomotion the barnacles are benefited. But when you are seeing whale, whether it is benefited or harmed, no, it is neither benefited nor harmed. Okay, so that is an example for what? Commensalism. So commensalism, barnacles growing on the back of whale, the barnacles are benefited because they are getting locomoted to different location. There they can go fetch for the food and all. Okay, and the next is your egret and the grazing cattle. Okay, so egret and the grazing cattle, how they are benefited. You see, this is egret and the grazing cattle, buffalo. How they benefited? The buffalo, what they used to do is that they used to uproot the plants, isn't it? So when they are grazing, they used to uproot the plants. So when it is uprooted, the insects, when you are seeing, it is getting exposed. So in the soil, the egret cannot fetch the insect where it is inside, but when the plant's roots are uprooted, you can find the insects gets exposed, it comes out. Immediately what the egret will do? Egret will go and have it as their food. Okay, so the cattle, egrets are benefited by the cattle to detect insects, because cattle stir up the bushes. Okay, stir up, they are taking out, uprooting it. Okay, and the insects are flushed out, so that from their vegetation it becomes very visible to the egrets, and the egrets can diet, means they can use it as their diet. Okay, so like that the egret is getting the egret is getting the food. Okay, so here the egret is benefited, but when you see whether the buffalo is benefited or the cattle is benefited, no, it's not benefited. So again, this is an example for what? Commensalism. And the last example what we are going to discuss is sea anemone and the clownfish. You can find this one is the clownfish and this one is sea anemone. Sea anemones are having tentacles. You know, the tentacles contains a toxin which can hypnotize any organisms which are coming nearby. Like that they will have it as their food, sea anemones. Okay, so how these the clownfish is benefited here? See, clownfish is sitting where they are sitting inside the sea anemone. Okay, so the clownfish is not getting affected. Okay, so they are staying in association. The clownfish is not getting attacked. Why it is not getting attacked? Any predators cannot come easily and attack it. Why? Who is protecting? The sea anemone is protecting. The sea anemone is protecting, so that the clownfish is not getting attacked. So this is the clownfish is protected from whom? The predators. Okay, so how you know? Because whatever organism come nearby it, what they do is that they used to hypnotize them with releasing the toxin, so that no animals, the tentacles keeps moving, so no animals dare to come near them. Okay, so like that the clownfish is benefited when you are seeing, but the sea anemone is not benefited, and the clownfish is not harmed by the sea anemone. Okay, that is the interaction between them. Okay, so you can find that is an example for what? Commensalism. So you can find the clownfish is here, isn't it? and these are the sea anemones. So inside they go and stay so that they are not getting attacked by the predators. Again, this is an example for what? Commensalism, in which the clone fish is benefited and the sea anemone is neither benefited nor harmed. Okay. The next interaction what we are going to discuss is mutualism. Okay. So what is mutualism? Mutualism is a case in which both the partners are benefited. Okay. Both are what? Plus. This species is also benefited as well as this species is also benefited. For example, you take it as lichen. So what is lichen? We have already learned it is an association between algae and fungi. So one is algae and another one is what? It is fungi. So you can find algae as well as fungi association. Algae and fungi association. Okay. So how is this lichen playing a major role? How are they benefited? See, what are lichen? It represents close association between what? Fungus and a photosynthetic algae. Fungus, what they are doing? They are helping in absorbing nutrients, water and all, and providing it to what? The algae. What is algae doing? Algae is preparing the food and giving it to fungi. So fungi is giving nutrients, water, everything absorbing and giving. Algae is preparing what? The food, and the food is being shared by whom? The fungi. In this case, both the algae as well as who? The fungi is benefited. So both are having what? Positive effect. So it is a type of mutually benefited partners. Both are benefited. Symbiosis, the term we have already learned, isn't it? So that is mutualism is the other name what we use is symbiotic relationship. Okay, both are benefited. The next one what we are going to see is in mutualism, you can find mycorrhiza. Mycorrhiza we have already learnt in microbes in human welfare chapter, biofertilizers, isn't it? So this mycorrhiza, when you are seeing, it is an association between what? It is an association between the root of the plant and the fungus. So what is mycorrhiza? Mycorrhiza is a fungi. Where do they say? On the roots of the plants. Okay. So what is mycorrhiza doing here? The mycorrhiza, actually the fungi, is helping the plants for absorbing nutrients. So they are absorbing nutrients from the soil and giving it to the plant. What is the plant root doing then? The plant root is providing the fungi with food. Okay. So like that both are benefited. So it is an example for what? Mutualism. Okay. Thereafter you can find mutualism is also noted in many mutual relationship between plant and animals. Okay. So we are also helping mutually the plants, and plants are also helping us. Okay. Like for example, plants take the help of animals for pollination. Okay. Pollination, moving from one place to another. Our dresses, when it is touching the flower and it is going and touching the another flower, the pollen grains which are present in our dresses can be illuminated, or the birds, honeybees, okay, butterflies which goes and pollinate the different flowers, are animals which are helping the plants. So plants are also benefited because pollination is taking place, transfer of pollen grains is taking place, you would have learned, isn't it? So the insect pollinators and plants is a very good example for what? Your mutualism. Okay. And one of the thing which has been discussed over here is pseudocopulation, and a very important topic. Okay. So what is pseudocopulation? You see this one. So the next mutualism what we are going to discuss is between the orchid, okay, oris and male bee. Okay, oris and male bee, between them phenomenon is taking place. We call it as what? Pseudocopulation. Okay. So what is the pseudocopulation? Listen. So when you are seeing this oris and the bee, this is the bee and this is the oris flower. Okay. So oris is a flower which is representing somewhat the orchid flower, which is representing somewhat like the female bee. Okay. So what this male bee is doing is that they are unknowing, means they think that it is a female bee and approach them, okay, for copulation, for reproduction, sexual act. So when they are going and approaching them, they used to dust the sperm over the flower. Okay. Along with that, their positioning is as such that over the bee, okay, what gets dusted? The pollen grains get dusted. Now these pollen grains is being carried by this male bee into some another flower. Okay. So again what they are doing, they are again going to pseudocopulate. Okay. So when they are going to again thinking that it is a female bee, when they go into it, So automatically what will happen is that the pollen grains will get attached to the sigma of that flower, and they will helping in what? Cross pollination. So what is the term, the pseudocopulation? What do you mean by the term pseudocopulation? Pseudocopulation means, you know, the sexual act of discharging the sperm into the female body so that the fertilization is taking place, or usually this copulation you can say it as external fertilization, wherein the male and the female gametes are laid outside and the fertilization is taking place. Okay, so here also the thing is that it is going and depositing the sperms where? Into the flower, isn't it? So where what is not going to take place? Fertilization is not going to take place. That's why we use the term pseudocopulation. Pseudo means false, thinking that fertilization is taking place, a sexual act is taking place, but it is actually not taking place. Okay, so that's why we use the term pseudo. Pseudo means what? Pseudo means false. Okay, so like that, when you see the male bee as well as the orris flower, the orchid is having a mutually beneficial relationship, as they are helping in pollination as well as they are helping in. For the animal, when you are saying that bee, it is pseudocopulation, benefited, and the second is your orris, it is benefited how? By pollination. Okay, so these are the various ways by which mutualism is playing a major role, in which both the partners are benefited. Okay, both the partners are benefited. Then the term what we use is what? Mutualism. Okay, so this orris as well as the male bee co-evolution is taking place. So this is what for today's topic. Hope it's clear. Thank you.